All right. So, a very good evening, and again, a very warm welcome to all the parents. And I really appreciate you all taking out your precious time so that we all can work as a team and help our children to grow efficiently, not just in the sense of academic, but in the sense of their personality development and different types of life skills like social skills, emotion regulations, and all of these aspects of growth. So I'm just going to start with a brief introduction. Now, it is often said that home is the first school and parents are the first teachers. So, what we mean by this is that it's a very natural phenomena that if you observe in all kind of species, the first way or the first step that any offspring of any species, basically, be that human or animal or any kind, they always learn by observing. They always learn from whatever is available to them in their surrounding, whatever is available to them in their environment. So they don't just learn about these aspects of how to eat, how to walk, how to run, how to play, or how to talk to someone, but they also observe things that how the adults that are present around the house, adults or different type of people having different type of relation phenomena in the family are talking to each other, how, what kind of tone, what kind of words, what kind of volume they use, what kind of problem solving strategies they use in their day to day life. Problem solving strategies not just in terms of having some sort of work related problem or just organizing the task or organizing your day, but problem in the sense of how to handle the basic conflicts that take place in day-to-day communication or day-to-day, like life functioning. So all of these things is something that a child learns by observing. So when we say that home is the first school, this is what we mean, that uh, the first primary group or the first primary environment of the child is always home, and they keep on like catching up all of these things and keep on observing all of these sort of behaviors that adults around them shows. Now, there has been a lot of intensive research also over this factor, that how the involvement of parent can help in a child's growth. So this is something that a lot of researchers has conducted. I have just elicited a one of sort of an example over here, but all of the research and all of the studies show the same conclusion, that the more intensive a parent is, the more intensely a parent is involved in a child's life, in a child's day-to-day learning and day-to-day growth and day-to-day activities, the more is the quality and the more efficient the child learns in their life. And again, I'm just completely saying that it's not just about the academics and but other aspects of life, which is like a long-term sort of a growth. Like if a child is learning a basic social life skills in its true nature, then this is a skill which is going to help that child in every sort of situation, in every age factor, in every kind of circumstances. This kind of skill is very important. So now, as child or as our children grow, we sometimes feel like that, like our child is becoming independent. They are becoming self-sufficient. They are becoming like they are now able to take care of their hygiene. They are now able to take care of themselves in a better way. But that does not mean that our job as parents stops over there. It just changes. It manifests in different type of forms, but it does not stop. In fact, as the child grows, the parenting role becomes more and more vital. The process of parenting might differ because obviously the change is happening, biological changes are happening, so as the psychological changes are happening. And we as adults, we also need to become like a water and take shape of the container that we are in. So whatever kind of art, whatever the shape that our child is holding in that particular developmental stage of their life, we as adults and we as parents need to become that sort of element for them, where we are just being into their shape and enhancing their shape and not just trying to mold them into something else. That is where the problem becomes. Now, obviously, today's scenario, we all know that it's a quite stressful circumstances that we all are living in. This is a new circumstance where we are trying to adjust to these times. We are trying to adapt to all of these resources that we have or we do not have. So, children are also facing a lot of problems. Like we adults are having a lot of issues, no doubt in that. But child is also, because at the end they also have this psychological aspect to them. They also have emotions. They also feel stressed. They also get anxious. They also get sad and depressed. Now, in these kind of circumstances, a child who has this natural instinct of running, who has this natural instinct of going out, exploring, and being just creative, being with themselves, now the circumstances are such where all of these things are confined to one space for safety measures. So this becomes a very problematic aspect of a child's life, where they're not able to express their energy and take out that energy and channelize that energy. Other than that, there is like now, earlier students or earlier our children got adapted to a routine of waking up, going out to the school, wearing their uniforms, adhering to time limits for all of the school functions or school classes. Now it has completely turned over to online. And when a person is in that living in that comfort zone, that sort of aspect becomes a problem. It like we feel like what would how it could be so difficult. We are living in home and it should be comfortable, but it becomes very problematic. So there are no outdoor activities with friends for our children, which is again, it's a very sad aspect for them. And then learning is now shaped majorly by the use of technology, by the use of internet. And internet is a vast world. Technology is a vast world. In that world, there are a lot of informations, a lot of different kind of perceptions and belief systems about different type of people who are openly sharing their knowledge and their ideologies. However, children, the problem comes over here is not with the access of information, but what kind of meaning is attached to that kind of information. Now that kind of attaching a good rational meaning and a true meaning, instead of going into some false beliefs or irrational belief systems, it is very important for us as parents and as adults of our children that we need to just take care of that, what kind of meaning they attach to information. So the first step would be that if a child comes to us and they'll be like, okay, I just read about this thing, what does it mean? So there could be a lot of topics where some type of taboo is attached, some type of stigma is attached to that sort of topic. So we as adult also, most of the time tend to be like, okay, no, 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 just forget about this thing. You are not old enough to talk about these things. But that becomes a problem because child is a curiosity ball. And when there is something which is like so curious, they will try to find out answers. They will try to find out ways to just clarify their doubts. And like I said, internet is a world where there could be wrong answers or misleading answers. So instead of like trying to avoid the circumstances, thinking that, okay, if we will just not talk about this thing to our child, it will get over, that is not the case. So it's better to just answer, to just clarify what our child is asking, so that we can give an appropriate meaning to the information that our children have doubt about. Of course, then there are a lot of challenges faced by parents also. Like it's a whole sort of a juggling thing. Uh, like there are a lot of emotional stress factors as well as this sort of a juggling and balancing of work, personal life, family, personal space, working towards our children growth. All of these things become a problem. Then there are a lot of issues related to financial issues are also there. Income problem is also there. So it becomes a very stressful situation for all of us. However, now of course there will be dark side and there will be a bright side to every circumstances. And momentary there will be some sort of very hurtful incidents also, but we in order to grow and in order to evolve, we need to look at the whole picture. And the whole picture is never just about dark colors or never just about even bright colors. It is something which has all different type of colors. So when we talk about looking at the whole picture, we also mean to divert our mind or just try to think about what is happening and just try to see that, okay, what good we can make out of the available circumstances or available resources that we have. So connecting to our children is a very good opportunity over here, because when there was offline or when there was a situation where we had to go out, we could not do this. We could not give time to our children. We could not spend quality time with our children, which definitely affects us and as well as our children. Now, so continuing to this whole aspect of that positivity where we can connect to our children, the first thing that we can do is like create safe and engaging environment for our child. And now whenever, just keep this thing in your mind, that whenever we are talking about certain activities or whenever we are talking about some task, don't take it as like okay, this is another added factor that I need to look into. No, it is very spontaneous. Be very spontaneous about all of these aspects that we are going to talk about right now. And this is not just for the child, it is like a teamwork. So when we talk about teamwork, it is like us becoming a partner in our child's life for their learning. And trust me, this is a, if we genuinely apply these tactics, if we genuinely apply this sort of belief system in these days, it is going to be very beneficial, not just for our child growth, but for us as well. So creating a flexible and a consistent daily routine. Now, what it does is that it teaches a child discipline. Discipline is a very important aspect. Discipline is not just about don't shout, don't raise your voice in front of adults, but discipline is about getting into a habit of doing certain tasks in the amount of frame of time, so that the child learns that when they grow, they have this sort of habit that has already been implanted in them, which is related to discipline. So daily routine is very important. However, making this flexibility and letting the child decide what they want to do in the whole day, and these things empower the child. It really helps them into their development of self-esteem. Now, at the end of each day, just take few minutes. So this is like, it will not take more than 5 minutes to have this sort of discussion with our children. Maybe at the dinner table, maybe before going to sleep, or maybe just like if we are working in our kitchens, or like we are doing some presentation work, we can just ask our child and we can have this sort of conversation where we motivate our child to talk about some positive aspect or fun aspect of the day. It should not, it is not limited to some sort of activity per se, but it is very much open to a sort of emotion or a feeling, a positive feeling or positive emotion they had felt. For example, I really like that moment where dad cracked this joke, and it was very funny, and I really enjoyed that. I had fun that night. So most of the time, child will not have this sort of ability to answer these kind of topics or take away the conversation from these topics. So it is very wise and very useful if we as adults start to do these things first, because like I said, child is like absorbing everything from the environment. So us taking up the first step for something that we are starting as a new activity or a new tradition, it sets a good example to our child. Set aside time to spend with each child. Now when we say, like when we give this sort of instruction to our children that don't watch TV, stop looking at phone, this is the half side of this is the half instruction that we are giving. Because okay, not to watch TV, but what else to do? I want to have fun, I am getting bored, I'm feeling tired, I am also feeling stressed. What to do to relieve that stress? So in these senses, we need to tell child what other activities they can do. For example, let's not watch TV and let's have fun by drawing something or coloring something. There would be, I'll be sharing a lot of different type of activities that can be replaced as having fun or having this stress management technique as well. listen to our child. It is very important to listen to them, whatever they are feeling, without having any sort of judgment. Create positive learning environment. Now, it is sometimes very hard when child is showing some sort of challenging behavior, but that's okay because they are children and they are learning. Most of the adults also don't have this capacity to regulate their behavior, regulate their emotions appropriately. So how can we expect the same with our children? And if a child is showing some sort of challenging behavior, it is coming out from a place of emotional need that the child is not feeling satisfaction with. So whenever a child is showing some sort of challenging behavior, it is very important to just see that where this behavior is coming from and then work upon it. So instead of just telling them to stop doing this or stop doing that, we need to become more smart in the terms of what kind of language and what kind of articulation we are using. So instead of using negative statements, try to use more of the positive statements, like praise them for whatever they do good, and at the same time tell them that, like, if you do this thing this way, it will be more beneficial, it will be much better. Now, of course, the challenging behavior and the personality change happens in the child, but they also learn this sort of conflict management, that where this kind of conflict occurs, even in the future, even if they grow up, even if they are trying to use some sort of circumstances where they need to discipline someone else, so they adapt this kind of observational learning that they have done during their developmental stages by observing us, observing how we use our words, observing how we use our facial expressions to deal with certain type of conflicting circumstances. So of course we are the model for children. So if we listen to our child, the child will start to listen to us more. And by doing this, we teach our child to develop empathy, where we teach our children to just become non-judgmental about other people, to accept this variation of this natural phenomena where everyone is different. Everyone has their own ways of expressing their thoughts and feelings. Some choose to maybe go out and be aloof. Some maybe choose to go out and have fun. Some maybe chooses anger to suppress their emotions. So all of these things basically is something which we teach our children when we are interacting with them. The way we are interacting with them, this is how they are going to interact with other people in their life. So this is very important that we as parents and adults of our children's life, we become very mindful of what we say and what kind of conversations we keep with our children. Positive disciplining, like I said earlier also, it is very important to just not hear the words that the child is saying, but understand where this thing is coming from. What is it that our child wants? And so over here we talk about being assertive in the sense that where we tell our child that, okay, if you do this, this will be the consequence, like positive behavior leading to positive consequence of getting a golden star or getting some treat at the end of the week or at the end of the day, or getting some extra playtime. So these would be the positive consequences for the positive or wanted behavior that the child is showing or displaying. And the negative consequences would not be like hitting or beating or shouting or these kind of things. No, we don't want that. We just trying to teach our children that there are consequences of the decision that they make, of there are consequences of the kind of behavior they choose to behave in. So negative consequences would be just cutting off their TV time by 20 or 30 minutes, cutting off their play time, giving them some task of like organizing their room. So these would be the consequences. Instead of like us being sort of having this sort of aggressive approach towards disciplining, we need to have this sort of development of skill. Now this is something that we also, as an adult, we are also just learning. We are also in this phase of where we are trying to explore our positive aspects and explore our abilities. So patience and articulation and positivity, all of these things comes by practicing. It is a practice that we need to practice and practice. We need to be more observant of our own self, and then it becomes like a skill for us. So there are just 5 criteria by Dr. Jane Nansen, like belonging and significant. We always need to make our children feel that they are belonging and they are significant. Whatever they feel, it is not like unworthy, or it is not like that we don't want to talk about it. So terms would be like, I know that you are upset and it's very normal to feel that way. I'm sorry that you have to feel this way, but let's talk about this. So these are the kind of statements that really makes a huge difference in the type of energy that is made in the room, and in the sense that what our child is learning from us. Then this is something which really teaches the child a social and life skill, and this kind of positive disciplining is effective long term, because when we become strict in the sense that we say that, okay, don't shout, stop crying, go to your room, these are very temporary solutions, and temporary solutions having long term negative effect. Whereas positive disciplining takes time and a lot of effort, but it is something which is a very long term positive effect. So listening beyond words is very important. A routine chart is very important. Encouragement is very important. Most of the time, we are only just disciplining our children. Most of the time, we're just telling them, okay, don't do this. This is not how you should be. But we don't tell them that this is a very beautiful aspect. You are such a beautiful person that you think like this. You are so talented that you made this. We don't need to set a bar for their talent and for their kindness. It's just that if they have this element of curiosity, of exploration, we need to encourage that. So there could be another sort of tradition of family meetings where all of the family members sit and they just discuss about what they felt in the day, how they are going to handle things on the next day, what was the problem between the siblings, what was the problem between children and parents. So all of these kind of discussions can take place over here, and it is very beneficial because it helps clearing out misunderstandings, which leads to clearing out faulty belief systems, which lead to appropriate behavior and appropriate emotional regulation skills in child. So have fun with children, of course, it is very important aspect, not just for our child, but for us also, because when we will be having fun with our children, it will be us having fun as well, which is automatically going to release our stress. And young children especially learn through play, and it's not just uh, true for young children, but it is true for all age groups, because play is something which is very important aspect, not just for, like, even if our child is like 13 or 18 years old, if I say, even if our children has become like this adult, then also playing, the of course the type of games, the type of play activities will change, but the concept remains the same, because playing is something which is not just wasting time or passing time for the sake of entertainment, but it is also about what kind of learning they get with different type of playful activities. Then this is very important aspect when we are trying to become partners for our children. That is that we need to set realistic expectations for our child. Realistic expectations would be, for example, one plant A would take 5 days to sprout, and plant B might be takes 3 days to sprout. So you get the idea what I'm trying to say over here. So we cannot expect plant A to just grow in 2 days when it is built like that, where it needs to grow, it needs to take 5 days to grow. However, that does not mean that that plant is not growing. That does not mean that the plant will not be fruitful. That does not mean that the plant will not have beautiful flowers and beautiful colors in it. It's just that it has a different pace of growing as compared to different plant. However, the species is same and everything is same. The environment would be same or as well, but then also there would be different. So this is the same sort of expectation that we need to have with our children. Now, any kind of expectation that burdens the child and suppresses their individuality, where the child is feeling like I'm not okay the way I am, and I should be more like this child, or I should be more like this person, that kind of expectations is very toxic for the child. So we don't want that. And again, appreciation is very important. Like in the whole day, if I am disciplining my child for two things or two behaviors, I need to appreciate my child for five things at least. So appreciation should be always more than the disciplining aspect. Encourage them to take new interests. It should not be just like, I want my child to become an artist, so I'll only give my child colors and paper to explore the art aspect. It should not be like that. It should be like where we are encouraging them to explore all aspects, be that academics related, be that subject related, be that uh, art related, be that extracurricular activity related, because all of these things are very important. And plus, this helps the child to develop their confidence. This helps the child to become more self-observant about what they like, what they don't like. Then, of course, taking care of health and eat healthy. In today's scenario, all of these aspects are very important, where we teach our child to maintain these habits of taking self-care, not just outside the house, but inside the house also, because once the circumstances are better, once the offline world starts, children will have to go out. But if a child already has this sort of skill developed in them, where they have this habit of taking care of themselves, taking care of their hygiene, considering all the circumstances that we have been put into, it will be very much safer for the child, for their health as well. So these are the certain things that we can do. And to make this fun, we can do certain exercise. We can do all of these things together with our children. It becomes fun for us, and it also helps in the stress factor or stress management, not just for us as adults, but for our children also, because movement is related to dopamine release, which is again related to stress relief factors, and it is very much beneficial for that psychological comfort that we get. So if a person or if a child or if an adult, we are like comfortable over here, that is our mind, that is our psychological and emotional aspect, the quality of our production automatically increases. So many a time, like I said earlier also, child will have a lot of questions. So the appropriate answer for that question would be to just answer that question with the truth, with the appropriate truth for that question, and not just to dismiss them by saying, okay, this is not important for you. So when we talk about physical or safety from diseases and hygiene sort of routine, we also need to teach our children to be safe from strangers and from abuse. No matter how old our child gets, they are keep on changing. Their developmental stages, their experiences, their surroundings, it is keep on changing. So we always have to make this sort of reminder for the child that we are here for you, no matter how old they get. Because we hear these sort of news that there are kids who are 16, 18, or in fact someone who is like 20, 21 years old as well, who might have gone through certain type of abuse, but they did not share that information with their parents, or they felt like they have no support system in this manner. So this is something that we need to tell our children in every stage of their life, in every developmental stage, in every type of circumstances or new situations that they go into. So we must talk about setting boundaries with other people. We must talk about safe and unsafe touch and what could be the risk factors of interaction with strangers and all of these aspects. So and this is something why I'm putting this for older kids also. I feel like this is very important for them to know, because most of the time kids do not know. uh, I've had a lot of cases where there are older kids and they did not know that there are certain body parts that it is, if they're feeling uncomfortable, there is a reason why they are feeling uncomfortable when someone is like touching them or when someone is coming into their personal space. So that bubble, we need to tell our children that we all have this bubble, and whenever someone, you feel like that you are getting uncomfortable when someone is entering your bubble, so just talk about that and just tell that person that, you know, like, I'm not feeling comfortable, or you maybe move steps behind, or there should be no secret keeping. If someone is like making them uncomfortable, it's very simple that they need to talk about it. And it should not be like we are doubting them or we are judging them for sharing these aspects, because as a child grows older, they become more worried about that. If I'll say these things to my parent, if I'll share about or if I'll complain about different adult, then what are my parents going to think about me, or what my adults are going to think about me? So this is the problem of an older child. So that is why it is very important to just keep these things at every stage of time. Because yesterday my child could be like feeling very comfortable sharing certain things with me, but 2 days later he or she might not feel comfortable sharing the same thing. So that is why it is very important to just keep a check that our children are well aware about their bodies, well aware about that uncomfortable feeling and what to do with that. Now, coming to certain activities that we as parents can do with our children at home with very minimal resources, and these activities are going to be very beneficial, because I'll be talking about how these activities are going to enhance what aspects of the child. So, in order to lay down any solid groundwork, uh, we need to take consideration about reading, about their writing skills, about the way the child is learning about the speaking or communication skills, and different type of academic related aspects, also concepts rather, like for example calculations about certain scientific aspects of temperature and changes. All of these things can be learned through different type of activities. However, we need to keep in mind that we don't want to make the home environment as a school environment. Let school handle the school environment, and let us just make the home environment for our children to be like fun. But of course, in that fun, we are unconsciously, or our child is also like subconsciously just grasping all the concepts. So activity needs to be play based learning and discovery based learning, activity based learning hona chahiye, and aspects of more formal but very interactive classroom learning as well. So the first activity, which is most of the time we have heard about this, that it is very important or very beneficial if someone maintains a journal, but we don't do this. We feel like it is not going to help us, or we maybe feel like this is not a very productive thing to do. But that is not the case. It's quite opposite. Maintaining a journal for our children and for us also, it is going to act like a therapy for us. So when a child is maintaining journal, they can write about their dreams, they can write about their thoughts, they can write about their feelings. So when a child is doing that, or when anyone is doing this, like for us also, for adults also, if we are doing these things, what happens is that it acts like a self reflection. We are able to see ourselves, we are able to be more aware about our own self, about our own feelings, that okay, this is how I felt, this is how I perceived a particular situation. This is what I learned in the day. This is how people around me supported me. So it gives a sense that I'm not alone. I'm loved by people around me. I'm not incapable of expressing. And apart from this sort of self-awareness development, it also helps the child to just release whatever sort of negative energy they were holding. It just helps them to just like have this sort of stress reliever activity. And of course, a child will be more engaged into any activity if they see that the adults are also doing the same thing. So if I am maintaining a journal, my child comes to me and they if he asks that, okay mama, what are you doing? And if I tell him that this is what I'm doing, this is how it makes me feel good when I'm doing this, so they also tend to observe the thing and then they also tend to do the same thing. Then another activity would be making words and picture webs. So we can just give child a sort of topic. For example, space words. Now, where we are just going to talk about space words and what they mean. So it becomes automatically fun, and it also becomes automatically, it becomes like a very good opportunity for them to learn about different type of words, different meanings of that words, and how this sort of critical thinking is improved in our children when they are trying to connect one word to another word, when there is a play of association. Whenever we are doing some sort of activity where we are trying to associate and differentiate certain things, it automatically enhances the problem solving skill of us. Then make your own family storybook. This is another very important activity. Important in the sense that yes, it is fun, but when a child is expressing or when a child is making any sort of story, it reflects that how the child is thinking, how the child is feeling, or how what kind of belief system that the child has made. So when we look at the storybooks, when we see that okay, this is what our child is feeling, we get to understand our children in a better way. Because children are not like, not just children but many of the adults also, many people are not that self-sufficient where they can just talk about their feelings, like I'm feeling sad because of so and so reason, I'm feeling upset because of so and so reason. They are not able to do this. But when we convert these processes into creativity, this is something which is really helpful for our children. Then drawing pictures, making toys and models, of course, this is again very sort of fun and very important activity when we talk about our cognition, when we talk about engaging our brain, when we talk about just utilizing our thinking pattern for any sort of creation or any sort of invention. It is always going to be very much helpful. So we can encourage them to look at some YouTube videos and try to make some model of solar system, maybe model of some science experiment or some toys also. It is something which is very beneficial for our children. Then feeling faces. It is again a very good exercise so that our children can become aware about how to read someone's facial expression, how to understand about other people's emotion and their own as well by just looking at their faces. So we can enhance this skill in them by telling them or by giving them or by being a partner in their activity where we draw different type of facial expressions and we give meaning to what this facial expression means. If there is a sad, if we are talking about sad emotion, what different type of expressions can a sad person make? Sadness because of a loss, sadness because of some sort of a need that is not being published or not been fulfilled. So there are a lot of emotions that we can talk about and related expressions as well. Then measuring things around for mathematics and this mathematical concept of measurement. This is very interesting where we just tell our children to, okay, let's measure this table. How many inches, how many centimeters, or how many meters are there in this table. Same goes for temperature also. Nowadays, we have this thermometer for measuring the temperature for our food. So we can use that thermometer for boiling, for like looking at the boiling point of a milk, looking at the boiling point of water. These kind of activities can be done. Then family questions, where every member is like asking questions to each other about their favorite color, favorite vegetable, festival. So what this questioning exercise helps is that uh, it prepares our children for the time when they get interviewed, or it motivates or expands their skill of asking questions, clarifying questions, which is very important, because most of the time children have a lot of questions but they're not able to ask it. Why? Because they do not feel comfortable, or they feel like there are stupid questions. But this activity will really focus on this and handle this issue of children not being able to ask questions when they want to. Then word Antakshari, it is like Atlas game. Atlas game is always very fun. We get to know about different continents, different cities, and about the globe in general. But there could be other games as well where we just play for like animals, birds, or we just mix match everything. So this is again a brain teaser activity for our children. Picture reading and writing, we can show a picture to our child and just tell them that, okay, like, let's just see that what is happening in this picture. What do you think what is happening in this picture? I think like this kid is taking picture of his friends, and do you think they are having a good time over here? What do you think what they will do once they are done once they are done with taking pictures? So these kind of conversations we can keep with our children, which helps them to become very much observant, and their this absorption of the environment, and all of these things get very much enhanced. And plus we as parents get to know that, okay, this is how our child thinks, this is how our child perceives the world around them. So we become very much close to our children. Making list, we can ask children to make list of objects that are present in kitchen, maybe that are present in uh, their bedrooms, the type of toys that they have. So this is also a very good activity. Independent reading, in this stage it is very important for us to motivate them to have this sort of time where they can independently engage their time into reading aspects. So it could be, it need not be only related to the academic book that we have. It could be comic book, it could be novel, it could be storybooks, it could be anything. But the point over here, the main point over here is that we need to encourage them to have this independent reading skill. Then find the missing object. This is another fun activity that we can do, especially for children who are in grade 3 or 4, where we just give certain objects in front of them, and then we tell the child to be very, where they use their memory skill of just grasping what is in front of them, and then maybe we can hide certain objects from there, and then we can see that whether our child is like paying attention. So what this activity helps is just like focusing the attention. It automatically increases the memory aspect, because if we are giving some attention to certain object or certain phenomena, then it gets better registered into our memory. So this is what it is going to enhance, finding the missing object activity over here. Going shopping, so this is basically a role play where the social communication skill gets enhanced over here, where one child or we as parent can become a shopkeeper, and the child is coming to us and trying to buy certain things, and then we become like a shopkeeper, they become like a customer. So this is something, this sort of role play, not just in the shopping aspect but in different aspects also, this role play activity really helps in enhancing their social skills and that confidence in the child. Then what can I see? So we give clues to the child. For example, we are going somewhere in a car or we are in the home doing some work, and then I'll be like to my child that I see something pink and something which is in rectangular color. What am I, or what am I seeing? Now the child has to observe the things that are present around the house. They need to look for these clues. They need to look for an object that matches these characteristics, and then they need to guess what we are trying to find. So this again is like a very helpful and very good brain teaser activity for them. Writing recipes, we can ask our children to write recipes or help us with writing recipes, and over here they can learn about different type of measurements like teaspoon, tablespoon, 1/3 cup, 1/4 cup. All of these measurements they get to know about. They also get to know about different chemical compositions and how different things react with for example, we can not put lemon over boiling milk, otherwise the milk will get curled up and it will become into a paneer. So these are the kind of things that we can teach our children. Teach your parent, where we can ask our children to play a role of a teacher and then they can teach us, and it is another fun activity. Then do activities together. So this is something that I have discussed earlier also, that whenever we are like becoming a friend or becoming a partner for our child, the activity, the result that the activity is supposed to show becomes heightened, or it becomes very brighting, and it becomes very good. Then literacy and numeracy. Now over here, it is a very simple activity where we can ask our child to develop this sort of a habit where they read things that are behind a packaging of food, like milk. Then what does the net W means? What does this expiry date means? Or what are the ingredients over here? What does this ingredient mean? So these are the things, are something which helps the child in a long term. Even if they grow up, these are the things that are very useful for them, even if they grow up to be an adult. And apart from that, this will help them to understand different ratios of different ingredients, different patterns of dates that are written, different type of uh, advertisement skill that a product is using. So all of these things become important for the child. Watch cartoon together. Now, watching cartoon together does not mean just sitting and just looking at the TV and just laughing or having fun. It also means talking about the characters. For example, there is a very good movie, Ferdinand. It's about a bull where every bull is like telling that bull to be bullying or to be just become very aggressive bull, because that is how the bulls are supposed to be. But then there is this one bull who chooses not to be aggressive, who chooses to be very delicate, even if he has a huge body and he is the strongest bull of all the bulls. But then also that bull is like choosing, making a decision of being gentle, being positive, being very lovable. So this is a very good opportunity for a parent to watch some animated movies with our children to teach them these aspects, that see, this character did this, so it was such a good decision, and how this character is so, why is this character loved so much, or why do you feel connected with this specific character. So all of these conversations really help in their personality enhancement. Family rules, where we just try to tell our child to just make certain family rules. It just becomes a fun activity, and obviously it helps with the discipline aspect. Then the last thing would be to assess and to monitor and to see that what kind of progress our child is making in towards of learning. Not just I again and again focus on not just the academical aspect, but about these life skills aspect, because then these things are very important, because if a child enhances these life skills in their personality, the academic aspect automatically becomes a plus point for them. So there could be certain like we need to just assess that whether child is able to read age appropriate content or not. Age appropriate is something which is very important over here to keep in mind. It's not like I cannot expect my third grader to just completely understand the even Harry Potter or Harry Potter English language at just one go. So they can read it twice or thrice and then maybe they can understand it better. But it's just about what kind of expectation I'm keeping with my child. And there could be a lot of different activities where they learn or they express themselves by drawing or singing or writing something, writing letters. They get to know about different type of formats of letter writing also. So this is another skill that gets enhanced over there. So yeah, so assessing and monitoring the progress of learning is also very important so that we get an idea that where we need to put more energy or more effort for our child and where we need to give our child some space to like just grow and just be themselves. So this is also a important aspect of the learning. So by this, I would like to end my presentation over here. These are my references for the sources of the content that I have put in my presentation. And thank you all for your support and patience. Now I'll be taking any query or any question if any one of you has. And if you want to connect to me personally also, this is my email ID. You can contact me over here. So I think Ojasvi ma'am, I think you should take over from here.
Thank you, Soumyata ma'am. Parents, I request if you have any doubt or if there is any question which you wish to ask, you can write it down in the chat box. Okay, the live chat box option is there. Alright, so Soumyata ma'am, we have one question. It says, how do you handle tantrum for a child aged 7 to 8 years?
7 to 8 years of age is the age where the child is into that, where one leg is into the complete kiddish sort of aspect of the child, and one leg is just moving towards the uh, sort of not so kiddish but a complicated aspect. So over here we need to understand that what are the things that the child is throwing tantrums for specifically, and over here to become more organizing about here, we can just keep a diary for us. For us as parents, we can keep a diary or journal where we are just noting down first couple of days that what are the things that my child is throwing tantrum for, what are the things that the child is saying, and why is it that they are throwing tantrum. So these are the three things that we keep track of. Then gradually how to handle that tantrum when it is happening. Now, we need to understand what works for our child. So there could be that maybe like having this sort of calm statement for our child, just setting this rule that whenever we feel upset, we in the sense that child or adult, whenever any one of us feel upset about certain thing, we will talk about it. We will take our time to gain our emotions, just center ourselves, and then we will talk about it. So there are certain rules that we can make in our home. There are for example, the family meeting could be an opportunity over here. Positive disciplining would be an tactic that we can use over here. So this is how we can explore. And apart from that, we can use positive consequences or negative consequences, which is also known as reinforcement technique. So this is how we can work upon it. But before that, we just need to understand that what our child is trying to communicate. Like by showing this challenging behavior, what is it that they want to talk about, or what is it that they want basically. And always use terms like I love you, I care for you, I know that you do not like me right now, I know that you think that I'm being harsh on you, but trust me, I love you, and we will talk about your emotions, we will talk about your feeling. Just take few deep breaths and come to mama when you want to talk about this, and we will figure out what we can do with whatever we have around us. So this is how we can manage a tantrum for a 7 to 8 year old kid.
We have another question, ma'am. It says, what precautions we can take while the child is taking online classes?
Okay. So over here, we need to tell our children to have specific amount of screen time. So in every classes, between every classes, there are like 5 to 10 minutes gap. So during that time, we want our children to not look at screen and just take some deep breaths, do some relaxation, and drink water, have some snacks, and just regain that energy. And also, we don't want our children to completely being physical still. We want movement in between the classes. So whenever that break is coming, so one first break could be for drinking water or just lying on the bed. Then the second break would be just for stretching. We need to motivate our child to stretch in between during these classes. We don't just want them to sit on chair or and in fact the posture, we also need to be mindful of the posture that our child is sitting in, what kind of back alignment they have, what kind of arm alignment they have. So all of these things are very important over here. Rest, we also need to make this habit of our children to keep their videos on, even if they feel like they are not feeling like they can keep the video on, but we need to motivate them to keep their videos on, even if everyone else's video is off. This will automatically increase the self grooming habit of the child, where the child will automatically feels like, okay, I need to groom myself so that I become presentable. So these are the certain aspects that we need to keep in mind when child is going through this online schedule.
Thank you, Samita, ma'am. Any other question, parents, you wish to put up? You are free to write it down in the live chat option which you have, so that Samita ma'am can take up the question. Alright, parents. So you are always free to write to Samyata ma'am. She has shared the email ID with all of you. If you have any doubt in the near future, you can always write your queries to her, and I'm sure she will reply to your queries. This brings us to the end of this webinar. Thank you, Samyata ma'am, for enlightening us with this knowledgeable presentation and answering the doubts of the parents. I am sure the parents must have learned a lot and gathered immense guidance. I would like to thank our dear parents for taking time out of their busy schedule. I express a deep gratitude for your enthusiasm and cooperation. I would also like to express my heartfelt thanks to the school management for organizing this webinar for our dear parents. So this concludes the webinar. Good day to one and all present here. Thank you.